So last month, my Hot Java topic covered building trust and included tips and information on how to build high-performing teams anchored in trust. One of the 4 elements of trust includes being dependable, maintaining reliability, and also being accountable, which is today's presentation. And as a quick reference to the trust model, which included being able to demonstrate competence, acting with integrity, caring about others, and then also being dependable. And being dependable includes being accountable for your role, performance, and behaviors. So I'd like everyone to take a minute or two, and if you could enter into the chat box, what is accountability to you as a leader? And if you could post your comments in the chat box, we'll take a look at what you have to say about accountability. What is accountability to you as a leader? Take a few moments and we'll see what we have here. Okay, so Sophia Gonzalez, taking full responsibility for myself and my team. Absolutely. Let's see, Dina Hidalgo, let's see, walking the talk. Absolutely. Following through. Taking ownership of your own actions. Thank you. Taking responsibility. Follow through again, absolutely. Sharing responsibility, accepting responsibility, giving credit. Being responsible for my actions, yes. Treating things and level of ownership akin to being my own, treating things with a level of ownership akin to it being my own house/family. Thank you. Respect, responsibility, and doing what you say you'll do. Absolutely. Taking responsibility for staff and handling issues that arise professionally. Communication with coworkers, being responsible, keeping us honest on fulfilling our responsibilities and integrity. Great responses, absolutely. And so accountability has various definitions. And you know, the word is usually used to denote personal responsibility for getting desired results. And so, you know, all the comments that were presented, all of them are spot on in demonstrating accountability. There is a common need to define what accountability really means, and then to engage people in ways that win their hearts, minds, and commitment. So I have another chat opportunity for you. What happens if there is lack of accountability? So if you could describe in the chat box, what happens if there is a lack of accountability? Distrust, absolutely. Kills morale. Lose trust. Miss deadlines. Quiet quitting. Creates lack of trust and low morale. Lower productivity and deliverables. Creates poor morale, creates a toxic environment, absolutely. Everything falls apart. It's a free-for-all. Poor retention of employees. Disrespect, chaos, lack of initiative. You know, we could go on and on and on, right? And so I think we all agree just how critically important accountability is, especially when it comes to employee engagement, employee retention, and really the kind of work environment that high performers thrive in terms of being able to accomplish goals, right? Are there any other consequences? Take a look. When there's a lack of accountability, damages the team. One person's inaction becomes the team's delay. One shortfall snowballs into bigger shortfalls. Standard operating procedures, policy violations are tolerated and have a tendency to become the norm. There's more. Poor performers get away with subpar work and behaviors. Top performers are asked to pick up the pieces and will eventually wear them out. There's a saying, you promote what you permit. So when it comes to accountability and being an effective leader, it's really about demonstrating behaviors as a leader in terms of accountability, holding yourself accountable, holding others accountable as well. And if you allow people to, not be accountable, then you're basically promoting that type of, you're promoting it and you're permitting it, really, that type of environment. Let me look and see if there's any additional chat comments. Poor performance. High performers are frustrated and potentially leave. Absolutely. Employees leave. So we can definitely see a direct correlation to lack of accountability and high turnover. So how do we as leaders show accountability at work? Well, we take ownership of our role as a leader, supervisor or manager. Admit mistakes. No one's perfect. Not only should we admit our mistakes, but even more important, do we learn from mistakes so that we don't repeat them. But definitely admit to mistakes. Be responsible for the success of your team and make the effort to support your team when needed. And I saw a comment earlier in the chat about making sure you're giving credit to those members on your team who were instrumental in achieving success, with a goal or a project. That's very important in terms of accountability. Own the problems you flagged by coming to the table with solutions. As leaders, we're always going to be faced with challenges, right, and problems. But it's really important in terms of accountability for us to be able to come to the table with solutions. Do we always have the answers? Not necessarily, but we should have some type of plan in place aimed at achieving resolution or coming up with ideas to solve problems. That's what leaders do. We solve problems. Figure out how to solve problems. Set clear expectations for others and yourself. Okay, and then follow the rules and standard operating procedures, and consistently apply the rules and standard operating procedures. So, can everyone see how trust and accountability are connected? If someone is not accountable, then this will diminish the trust level. And with one consequence of that, of course, is to start to see people either, what do they call it, quit but stay. I think I saw that earlier. It's quiet quitting or quit but stay on the job. Some people refer to that as on-the-job absenteeism, but ultimately people do leave. So how do we make accountability a core value to our teams? Number one, lead by example. Hold yourself accountable first. As a manager, you're the pace setter of tone, performance, and culture for your team. People will follow your lead. If you don't demonstrate accountability for your role as leaders, hesitate to hold team members accountable and not own up to your mistakes, the team will follow suit. Consistently manage policies, standard operating procedures, and guidelines. And then make accountability a habit. And work on your feedback skills. Following these 4 steps will help you make accountability a core value of your team. Accountability and feedback. One of the most critical areas for leadership success is giving effective feedback to team members, praising when it's earned, and coaching on time. So, feedback should be something that's continuous, right, throughout the year. Yes, you may have a formal performance appraisal process in place. Sometimes it's once a year. It might be a couple times a year, once a quarter. Whatever the setup is important, but that's whatever it is, whether it's quarterly, every 4 months, annually. It's also remembering to be able to the importance rather of providing effective and timely feedback to your team members. This helps sustain the strengths that they have. It also helps them to improve in areas where it would be required, to make performance improvement, and to celebrate successes in terms of goals and objectives achieved throughout the year. We know that giving feedback isn't always easy, but it's also a skill that can be improved. Okay, I think all of us would probably agree that it's way easier to give positive feedback, like to your top performers. But you also may have a top and high-performing employee who still needs feedback in areas where they need to grow. And so it's really about identifying for each and every one of your employees, what their strengths are, and then also areas that require improvement, and then the coaching that goes along with providing timely feedback to help them get to the higher level of performance that they've set for themselves, and also that you've, in collaboration, have discussed with your employee about where they want to be in terms of their skill set and their knowledge base. So when you regularly give feedback, including positive feedback, it makes tough feedback much easier to give. It also reduces the chance of your direct report being surprised by the feedback that they are receiving, leading to further disengagement. And certainly no one, particularly at any, whether it's a quarterly check-in or annual evaluation, that no one wants to be surprised, right? Particularly surprised by an area that they're hearing for the first time in a performance review discussion that they're not meeting expectations, or that there's an area that they need to improve on. So it goes back to the practice of making sure that communication and feedback to your, and coaching, for your employee is something that's a continuous process throughout the year. All good managers and leaders really want their people to be accountable. And of course, accountability doesn't apply only to rank and file employees. Managers and leaders should be accountable for holding others accountable. After all, isn't getting good results with and through other people the very reason we have managers and leaders? So, a couple of things to think about. Now I want to introduce to you, through the Associates Mind Resources, the ladder of accountability. And take a few moments and reflect on where you feel you typically are on the ladder of accountability. For example, if you say something like, I frequently catch myself making excuses and saying I can't. I usually am on those 2 levels. So as you can see from this ladder of accountability, you have your top 4 behaviors of accountability. Things happen because of you. And then you have your bottom 4 below the red line. These are referred to as victim behaviors. Things happen to you. Take a few moments and reflect on where you feel you typically are on the ladder of accountability. And then we're going to delve into this model in just a few moments. And you don't need to put anything in the chat. I just want everybody to be thinking about, do you make things happen? Do you find solutions? Do you embrace it? Do you acknowledge reality? Or do you wait and hope? Or do you say, I can't do that, or I can't? Do you have personal excuses, or do you blame others? Or is there someone on your team that does these things? So let's go to the next slide here. So highly effective people demonstrate high levels of accountability. The ladder of accountability describes 8 levels. The top 4 levels, they describe a stance focused on movement toward the future, possibilities, and high levels of accountability. The bottom 4 levels describe a stance generally focused on the past and low levels of personal accountability. So, it's an opportunity to look in the mirror and reflect on where you feel you typically are on the ladder of accountability. Do you make it happen? Do you embrace it? Or do you wait and hope or say, I can't? Let me go back. I want to say a little bit more about this ladder. So I've described very briefly each of the rungs. There's 8 rungs on the ladder, right? And all of us should strive to be above the red line and not below it. But let's take a look. Let's start at the very bottom. So when people blame others, they typically finger point. If they have personal excuses, you might hear things like, the dog ate my homework, okay? Or what about I can't? People actually sometimes talk themselves into believing that they are unable to accomplish a task at hand. And there are various reasons why they do this. But they're playing the victim. They really believe they can't accomplish something. How about wait and hope? This places the obligation for results on someone else. So these bottom 4 behaviors, waiting and hoping, saying that I can't, personal excuses, blaming others, okay? These are referred to as, as really, being the victim. Let's move up above the red line to the very first rung on the accountable behaviors. That would be acknowledge reality. On this rung, people see the situation for what it is. They sort facts from fiction and accept certainty that something needs to be changed. Right? Let's go to the next level, accountability. Embrace it. People admit their role in the problem and accept ownership of the situation. And I think I saw in an earlier chat, a couple of chats where people indicated how important it is to take ownership, right? Okay. Finding solutions, the third rung, and accountability. This is where solutions are spawned by commitment to results. Mentioned earlier, an accountability trait of a leader is someone who strives to determine a solution to a problem, right? It's about getting results. And then the highest rung would be making it happen or make it happen. At this level, people get results, and their commitment is relentless. And I want to clarify, I said relentless, not ruthless, all right? Relentless. So, are you below the line, or is someone on your team below the line? So let's look at some of these elements here. You feel you don't have any control over the present situation, blaming others, focusing more on what you cannot do rather than what you can do. Others come to you to complain about all the terrible things that are going on. You feel you are being treated unfairly and you don't think you can do anything about it. You're defensive in your communication with others. You focus on all the reasons something can't be done. Okay? Anybody that's below the lung may be experiencing any of these elements just identified. All of us, believe it or not, all of us have been below the line, right? All of us know what it's like to feel as if we're being treated unfairly and are trapped in our current circumstances. The accountability ladder is a great way to diagnose where you are, where you or your employees are. The ability to understand and help individuals work through the reasoning of why living below the line can cause undue stress and overall misery, can help them move to a position that may be healthier and happier in the long run. So how do we move up the ladder? Okay. Well, we should look at what is within our control. What motivates us to come to work every day? Are you excited to go to work on Monday as you are on Friday, if you have a Monday through Friday work schedule? But what brings you here every day? What's working for you? What are your strengths? What do you enjoy? How do you coach your staff or others above the line? 5 very specific steps. Listen actively, right? Acknowledge what's being said. Asking. Okay? Actually, the most critical piece of this coaching model is asking. After you've spent time listening, acknowledging your employees' current challenges, the question you need to ask them is, given your current circumstances, what else can you do to move forward? This helps shift them from victim mode to action. Once they begin to talk about what else can be done, make sure you provide them with the feedback and support that they need to move ahead. There are simply 2 things that all of us need to succeed and excel. 1 is direction, and 2 is support. And this will vary from project to project, task to task. Coaching people above the line requires a commitment to support their efforts. Accountability breeds responsibility. When you make it happen, you are worth your weight in gold because you know that things happen because of you, not to you. I hope that you find this information useful as you continue to build high-performing teams anchored in trust and accountability. And I'm going to take a look and see if there's any comments or thoughts or questions in the chat box. And again, thank you for each of you who shared your comments and thoughts. And let's see, what do we have here? Let me go back. I'm still learning how to navigate here. Let's see here. Okay, so Rebecca Scott says, I'd like to ask this. Oh, okay, sorry. Let's go to another question here. Okay, how about this one? Give me one moment. Okay, lack of accountability when parts go missing or break. They are afraid to report it because the supervisor gets frustrated. Let's see here. How do you coach a low-level employee when they identify a lack of accountability in their supervisor? How do you coach a low-level employee when they identify a lack of accountability in their supervisor? You know, my first reaction to this is that it doesn't really matter what the level of the employee is, and the role. Every one of us as employees, whether we are in the management ranks or non-management ranks, it's really about, do we as leaders or managers demonstrate accountability? And if we do not, do we know it? What's our self-awareness? And does our supervisor or manager, does he or she, what's their role in identifying any area of improvement in terms of situations where a person does not demonstrate accountability? I think making them aware and giving them specific examples are very important so that they know exactly what they need to do. Because again, when you look at this ladder of accountability, these are all behaviors, and there's specific behaviors that you can refer to. The person is saying that they can't, or they don't embrace, or don't even see that there's a problem. It's really about looking at that ladder and looking at where you think they are based on what you perceive, and then also self-awareness for them. Sharing that ladder with the employee and giving specific examples could be very helpful. It's like telling someone, oh, you have a bad attitude, but what does that really mean, a bad attitude? If you provide specifics, well, here's an example. You receive a phone call and you're very, very loud over the phone. You tone of your voice, loud, perceived as being angered, and you slam the phone down on the desk and hung up on the customer. Wow, those are pretty specific details about a person's behavior that's perceived as demonstrating a bad attitude. I think there's another question. Tony, please share your thoughts on creating a culture that can support staff making mistakes so they can take risk and grow. Yeah, that's from Dana Hidalgo. And yeah, I think, creating it's really, in my mind, it's really about creating a workplace culture, particularly where employees feel safe to be able to be innovative, come up with ideas, and it's okay to make a mistake because no one's perfect. And if people feel safe to try something new and be creative, I think that's an environment that statistics have shown companies that are innovative and provide a safe environment for people to be creative, they are the most productive and they're the most innovative. And one other key element, when an employee makes a mistake, it's really about, hey, did they learn from it? It's about learning from the mistake that makes them better, makes them stronger. What if a manager above you is pressuring you into doing their work in your own, and you've tried everything to keep them accountable? Repeat that. What if a manager above you is pressuring you into doing their work and your own, and you have tried everything to keep them accountable? Yeah, that's a tough one. And I think that all of us, there's expectations in terms of our job performance, and sometimes we do from time to time go above and beyond the call of duty. But I think if it becomes problematic, if the perception is that I'm being forced to do work that really should be done by someone else, whether it's my manager or another coworker, there are times when we do that because we have to, because people go out unexpectedly, go on leave of absence, right? But if there aren't any extenuating circumstances that would require it, then I could see how that could impact one's perception of another person's lack of accountability. And I think that's where you would have the opportunity to have that discussion with your manager if you haven't already done that. And if you've attempted that approach and still didn't find successful resolution, then I would encourage to go to the next level of management to get the support that you need. And I know that was very, very general, but as I'm looking at these chat questions, and I know our time is 30 minutes, probably going over a little bit. Certainly, for any questions that any of you may have that did not get entered into the chat, do feel free to reach out to me. 916-774-7050 is my number, direct office number, extension 3123. I'll repeat that, 916-774-7050, extension 3123, and of course my email address, twaterford@aquajpia.com. Any other questions here? Super. So again, thank you everyone for participating and contributing with your comments and questions at today's Hot Java session. And please don't forget to complete the survey. We really appreciate feedback and look forward to hopefully speaking and presenting next month's Hot Java. Again, that will be presented by Robert Greenfield on the new laws for 2024. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day and week.